Hello, Jen here with a layout for the Wild Whisper design team. Happy July, everybody! I am in Canada celebration mode for the month of July. Canada Day is July 1st. That's how we kick off the month, and I thought I would do a giant Canada flag as my layout today. So I have the 4x3 cards from the Strong and Free collection. That is a collection that Wild Whisper came out with last year. This collection is called Out and About. It has sort of a travel theme to it, and I wasn't sure if maybe there were a few elements that could work. These are the Strong and Free papers. Aren't those gorgeous? These are a couple of extra papers that I put in with this kit just because they worked well with the whole Canada road trip theme. And then I also have that Creative Memories paper pack called Celebrate Canada. So, two-page spread, giant Canada flag. I'm going to start by backing this maple leaf. I got this from Heather last year at the Scrapbook Carnival. She had a few different cut files that she designed, and of course this one drew me in right away, and I've been hoarding it, but no more. I'm going to use it. I love it. So here you can see I've got a few different cards from the kit that have different shades of red to them. And I'm just going to back the file. So there you go. You can see how great that turned out. I decided not to use this red paper to back that maple leaf, but I'm going to use it as the red panels on either side of the flag. So I'll just cut off that branding strip and literally cut it right in half. It's so gorgeous. It's so bold. I really, really love this. And of course, the pictures I'm using are not Canada Day pictures. They are from last summer. And so we're definitely celebrating Canada with our whole road trip. But that paper would be perfect for Canada Day photos or even 4th of July photos. Definitely don't let the very Canadian motifs in this collection stop you from purchasing it, because all of the cards have two sides to them and they're not all sort of uber Canadian, excuse me. So I know you will love this collection and get lots of use out of it, even if you're not from our Great White North. So there you can see that maple leaf, how awesome it turned out. One little tip I have, because I knew I had to cut this in half, obviously this is a two-page spread and on our flag the maple leaf is right in the middle. I went ahead after I pieced it all together. I used some leftover like a leftover piece of one of the Creative Memories papers, and I just backed the whole thing with a solid back because I knew that that would help to keep all of those little edges and pieces together when I cut it with my trimmer. I could have cut this by hand, but I felt like the trimmer was the safer bet to make sure I got that really nice straight clean edge, and having that solid back on the back really helped to make sure that it cut nicely. And the Creative Memories paper is really thin, so it didn't add a lot of extra bulk. Obviously, there's lots of bulk from all the different little pieces, and sometimes they overlap and stuff like that. But the paper didn't add any extra bulk. It was really easy to go through with the blade of the cutter. So here, before I put the maple leaf down, I want to give it just a little shadow of red, just a way for the outline of the cut file, which is white, to pop off of that white background. It makes that white edge to the maple leaf even more bold. So I just traced it, and now I have to just fuss around with it a little bit to make sure that I extend that shadow out as far as it needs to go, so that it's just slightly, excuse me, it's just slightly peeking out from behind the maple leaf. I used the Prima watercolor pastels, and then I'm also using this sort of knockoff Koi watercolor palette that I got from Wish. And there you can see it just really helps to give that maple leaf a little bit more definition. And then I figured, since I have all this stuff out and I don't plan to do a ton of extra embellishing, I'm just going to do a few little splatters. So I took the oil or the watercolor pastel and I colored right onto the palette into that same little well where I had the red, and just kind of mixed those two colors together and did some splatters. And then here, this is a spray mist from Dollarama, of all places. And it has sort of a nice pinky tone to it, like a more cooler red. So I thought I'd do some splatters of that. Very subtle. And you'll see when I put that maple leaf down that you just have this kind of little bits of detail poking out. So I backed the whole thing with foam. I also backed those two panels with foam. And now I'm just going to stick them down with the tacky glue, just making sure that that edge is lined up really nicely and everything is actually stuck really well, so that when I slip it into the page protector, nothing gets pulled up, especially that tiny sliver of the stem. And I'm also just making sure when I'm putting that glue down that I leave a little bit of space, because I know I'm slipping my pictures in there. And these pictures are so cute. They turned out really good. At Mosaic Canada, I've done a couple other layouts with that one, so you can always check those out if you're curious about what it is. It was this really cool sort of like greenery sculptures, giant, massive sculptures in Jacques Cartier Park in Gatineau. And we went with my sister and her family, and right in the center is a little area where you can sit and have a little snack, and CBC had a booth where you could take photos, and they had these little frames. So of course we got the kids to pose in the frames. So I just picked one sort of nice photo and then one of them goofing off, and I'm going to have the two girls on one side and the three boys on the other side. And I was thinking originally that I might actually cut these in half, so they're 4 photos, because that's actually what they are. I just put 2 photos onto one 4x6. And I thought maybe I would have 4 small photos with lots of little layers of red and white in behind. But once I matted these photos and, I don't know, I put them on the page, I just felt like this was a much cleaner, nicer feel to the layout. It didn't need all those extra layers because there's so much pattern and detail in that maple leaf, and that's really the sort of standout feature of the layout. So all of my embellishing is really subtle. I just have that one simple white mat around the photos, and that's mostly just to help them stand out a little bit better from the red. And that's all I needed. I didn't need extra layers. So I did a little bit of stamping down at the bottom. This is the Strong and Free stamp set, and it has this beautiful outline of a maple leaf. And then it also has the solid maple leaf as well, and so I'm putting some of those inside the red panels, along with this sentiment that says Strong and Free. I just liked that it's kind of a small sentiment. It's not too bold. And really, once that ink dried, the stamping inside of those panels is quite subtle. It looks nice. And that's it. I am loving this. I love the way that it turned out. I really love how bold that red is, how well that stands out off of the white. I felt like the stamping was important because there's some darker shadows in the photos, and so the black stamping really spreads that dark out, but it's still subtle enough that it's not drawing all of your attention. I did want something to go up at the top though, to kind of balance out the bottom, but I felt like maybe that sentiment there said home and native land. I think if I had stamped it out, it would have been too bold, too dark. So my solution in the end is that I just do a little bit of journaling up at the top with a thin black marker, and that kind of mimics that thin line of the maple leaves from down below. And of course, I have to stay true to myself. I finish off my layout with sequins. I put some sequins around each of the little stamp clusters in those panels. And then now I'm just going to fill in a couple of these little spaces. I don't completely fill them in to the point where you can't see the pattern in the background, but I use 3 different types. One is a matte finish to the sequin, one is like a sparkly finish, and then the other one is just a shiny finish. For my title, I'm going to use that card that says Canada. I love that it matches the firework panels. The actual words are filled in with the same picture, so you can see the firework bursts in the CANADA. And then that green is a contrasting color, so it kind of gives a little element of something different. It adds a 3rd color in there. But I didn't want my title to just be Canada, so I went into this thicker pack and I kind of found 2, a letter W and a letter E that I could use. I had to obviously cut them out of different words. I think actually the W is an upside down M, if I'm not mistaken. And so I also had the outline of that heart, which I felt worked really good to kind of balance the outline of those maple leaves. And now my title is We Heart Canada. And that's it. You'll see my journaling in the still photos at the end. If you have any questions, let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Be sure to check out Wild Whisper Designs for this collection and all their others. And remember to use my discount code DTGen. Until next time, happy scrapping. Bye!